Hey guys, welcome into my channel. Thank you so much for tuning into this video today. No, I'm not outside. Don't bash me for it. I know the thumbnail is showing me outside in nature. I was taking in the essence of the trees, the birds, and I tried to film the video already 2 times outside and it didn't work out. The volume wasn't working, the view was not working at all. And so the thumbnail is outside, but I was like, look, I'm gonna record this video today because I'm not trying to do this another day. So here I am. I look different from the thumbnail, but it's still the same video. So today's video is going to be about self-reflection. And I think it's really important for me to come up here and do what I always do, which is inspire you guys, teach you guys, and instill you guys with a lot of wisdom and knowledge based on this topic now, today's topic of self-reflection. Why is this such an important thing? And why do I want to talk about it? What is there to talk about self-reflection? Well, when I was reflecting under my favorite tree inside the neighborhood, I came to realize that, everybody's self-reflecting moment is different. Just like everybody's process of emotions, process of energies, process of a lot of things in life, people just take things differently, right? And when we're looking into spirituality, when we're looking into spiritual awakenings, when we're looking into self-care, when we're looking into all these different things just in life, period, different things where people are given advice about, when it comes to these things, a lot of the times it is generalized. And sometimes it's not good to generalize these types of things. And self-reflection is another thing that can be taken in different ways depending on who you are, the type of person you are, what you're going through, and what you're experiencing. Your self-reflecting journey can be a little bit different from somebody else's. So a lot of people will say if you're going to go self-reflect, you're going to sit in stillness, you're going to meditate, you're going to be calm, it's going to be peaceful. Now, take it from somebody who's gone through a lot. Take it from somebody who's experienced a lot of trauma and things of that nature and has done a lot of self-healing work. And also just take it from me because I work with people who, have experienced trauma. I grew up around people that experienced trauma. And when it comes to traumatic experiences, if you're going to self-reflect, and let's not even just talk about traumatic experiences, but if you're self-reflecting and you're just trying to see the truth, right? Because when you're self-reflecting, you're taking a moment to look at your reflection. So when you're looking at your reflection, you're looking for what's real and what's a delusion. So if you're looking to see the truth, then you are essentially looking at the bad, the ugly, the awful, the demons, the dark side, the shadows, the things that can trigger you, the things that you may avoid on your day-to-day life. All of these different things are what comes to the surface when you take time to reflect on a situation or on yourself. And that's not always going to be peaceful. It's not always going to be calm. It's not always going to be silent. And the reason why I say this as well for you guys is because I kind of just want to make sure that people out there know that, hey, if you go and you're trying to do some healing work on yourself and you find your mind having this inner dialogue that is fearful, or you may feel like this is too hard for you to do, or if you try to reflect and it's not calm, you don't feel peaceful, you feel triggered, you feel overwhelmed, that's actually not a good enough excuse to not self-reflect. Yes, if you're experiencing an intense amount of emotions, if you're being triggered to an extreme where you feel like it is overwhelming for you to process, then of course give yourself a break and take some time away. But it's important to understand that avoiding facing the truth and avoiding looking at yourself in the mirror and avoiding taking accountability for who you are and what it is that your experiences and the truth of the situation, the reflection that is in front of you. Avoiding your reflection is only going to make more chaos. It's only going to bring more chaos, more confusion. It's only going to make it so that you have less control over your emotions, have less control over your demons, have less control over your shadow aspects. And these are things that it's like, it's not going to go away completely, because at the end of the day, we're all human. So we're all going to have fear. We're all going to have, a sense of sadness. We're all going to have these different emotions that could be brought up if we're triggered or if there's outside influences. But for the most part, it shouldn't be to a point where it is making it so that you cannot live your day-to-day life. So if you're getting depressive states of being, or if you're only focusing on problems and having anxiety because you're looking at how things could go wrong, and you're looking at the negatives of the situations as opposed to the actual solutions to your problems, then this can be something that can be very destructive in your day-to-day life. It can be destructive for your psyche. It can be destructive for your spiritual journey. It can be destructive for you to just enjoy life while you can and live in the moment. Especially if you have anger issues, anger management, if you have problems with rage, if you have problems with guilt, resentment, shame, all these different things, unworthiness. The shadow list goes on and on. But it's really just coming to the point where it's like, when you do this work, there's no excuse to get away from it. So if you go and you say, I'm going to self-reflect, and you're having a bunch of chaotic noise and, all these different thought patterns popping up and emotions coming up, face it and deal with it. Sit with it. Sit in those emotions. Feel those emotions. See where it is that these emotions are stemming from. This is very important. It doesn't have to be peaceful. It doesn't have to be quiet, because everybody's experience is going to be different depending on what it is that you're dealing with and how it is that you process things. Right? So another thing that's important to note as well is there's other ways of self-reflecting. So you can actually write a poem. You can journal inside of your notebook. You can write a song. You can record yourself expressing your feelings, expressing your emotions, expressing the deepest, darkest things that you truly feel, like really being honest with yourself, even if it's something that's so evil because somebody hurt you a long time ago and you're just expressing fully on the voice recording, I wish this person would just leave the face of the planet forever because of what they did to me. Truly express that. Go back and listen to that voice recording. And then you'll be able to see, wow, this thing really has a hold over me. Or this feeling that I have towards this person is really putting me in a dark place. And then you can move forward from that with the healing process of deciding to release that, deciding to acknowledge that it's there, deciding to cope with it, deciding to, just acknowledging that it's a trigger for you, that person or that situation or things that are related to that situation that brings it up into your psyche and your memory can trigger you into the emotion that it makes you feel when you express yourself about the situation. Because if you don't reflect and evaluate your emotions, especially if you're going through very karmic cycles in your life, toxic environment, toxic life cycles, if you don't take the time to reflect on these emotions, they're going to run you and you're not going to have clarity. There's going to be a hidden sense of awareness, a hidden sense of being able to see clearly. And there's going to be a blinded version of the truth. So you may have pieces of the puzzle, but you cannot see the whole picture because you may be wearing a mask and pretending and ignoring the issues, or you just haven't evaluated it, so you don't even know it's there. So that's why it's so important to make sure that you take time to self-reflect. Even if it's not completely quiet, it's not meant to always be quiet for everybody. The goal is to get to that purity. The goal is to get to that quietude. Because when we think about self-reflection, we think about this purification process. And we're also really relating it to water element, because water element has everything to do with healing. It has everything to do with purification, cleansing. And if you're cleansing yourself in water, then you are looking at yourself from a pure sense. So yourself in a purity, yourself in purity. So what I mean when I say this is, sometimes when you look, like for example, if you're looking at a body of water and you see your reflection at a natural body of water, there may be some ripple effects there. There may be some ripples in the water. There may be some waves. There may be some emotions, right? There may be some triggers. These are the ripples. These are the interferences. But when the water is still and calm, only thing you see is the truth. And the thing that you see that is the truth is you at your purest state. What you really look like, what you really feel like, what your emotion really is. The beauty of you will be reflected back to you, and you'll be able to see it clearly. With this analogy with the water and the reflection, when it comes to self-reflecting for healing, there is a magical thing that can occur when you self-reflect. And this magic has to deal with progressing yourself to being a better person, progressing yourself to being at the highest quality, not perfection, but the highest quality of what you can be. Just being a better version of you, right? But when it comes to that analogy, you're also taking a time to see what is your energy and what isn't your energy. I'm telling you, sometimes that's where the magic really is when it comes to self-reflection, especially if you're an empath. It's like, okay, I'm looking at my reflection and there's this thought, there's this other thought, there's this other thought, there's this other thoughts, and these are the thoughts that have been getting in my way, or this is the perception, this is the dialogue, the narrative that has been getting in my way. But now when I evaluate this, I'm seeing that that narrative or these thoughts and these ideas have a root to them. There's a root cause to them. They're stemming from somewhere. And a lot of the times, these different fears, these different triggers, these different things that we hold inside of us, whether it's resentment, whatever it is, it's based off of what somebody else has projected onto us. Whether it's in childhood, when you were younger and maybe you experienced abuse, or maybe you just experienced abandonment, or whether it was in school, or whether it was because, you try to achieve a goal in your, outside of your childhood, you tried to go and get a career, and maybe you experience failure, a deep sense of failure. And so now you're being triggered every time something reminds you of that failure that you had, because you deem it as failure. But it's happening on a subconscious level. So you can have all these different triggers to this one incident and not even knowing that you're being triggered to this incident. Not even knowing that you're being put into a different mood, or that your energy is shifted and changed because you haven't taken the time to look at yourself and look at your reflection and see yourself in its purest form. And that's truly where I see the magic coming through when it comes to taking time to self-reflect, is seeing yourself in its purest form, looking in the water and seeing who you are. This way you'll be able to identify your triggers. You'll be able to know when you're not centered. You'll be able to know all these different things. And it's also important to even take accountability, because sometimes these demons and shadow selves and all these things that get in the way of us being high vibrational and being in a state of love and being in a state of our own divine essence, the things that get in the way of that are things that on a personal level we could be fueling as well. Some people are addicted to fueling their shadow selves. Some people are addicted to fueling their shadow selves because they see it as an empty void that needs filling. But really, it's not an empty void that needs filling. It's really just needing to be nurtured with love. It just needs to be seen for what it is, as opposed to fueling this shadow aspect of yourself. Why not instead go ahead and say, hey, it's there, and then make the decision on if it's good for you to have it or if it's not good for you to have it. How much of it can you have? Because like I stated before, you're not going to be able to get rid of fear completely. You're not going to be able to get away from hate completely. You're not going to be able to get away from guilt, shame, anger, rage, anxiety, which is fear. These are still emotions that are going to be there. Anything can happen on a daily basis. No matter how much healing you've done to heal your old wounds, you can be triggered to get into that place. But you will at least be able to identify it and make sure that it doesn't take you out of your purest form. Make sure that it doesn't run the show and that you don't lose yourself inside of your shadow aspects. Your shadow aspects could be there to be used as fuel for expression in ways that are more productive, like art, like your work, your passion. Different things like this is where you can apply some of those shadow aspects. If you have aggression, if you have anger, you can put it towards sports. You can put it towards, coaching. You can put it towards inspiring others in a way, not even inspiring, but more coaching, like that person that's like, come on, you can do it. Like the person that's yelling on the sidelines. You can put it towards boxing. If you have issues with looking at the problems to everything, which is going to be kind of like anxiety, where everything's fearful for you, everything is a problem, or if you're just really pessimistic, then, and it's affecting your day-to-day life, then when you evaluate that, you can start to see, okay, if I'm looking at the problems a lot of the time, if I'm looking at the negatives a lot of the time, I know what I need to do is look at the positives. I know what I need to do is focus on the solutions and not to beat myself up when I haven't created the solution yet or I haven't reached the solution yet. But at least I know that I'm focusing on the solution as opposed to the problem. So these are just different examples to just really show that when it comes to self-reflection, it's not always kumbaya, kumbaya. Sometimes self-reflection is like a real rebirthing moment, a metamorphism moment, a moment of tears, a moment of sadness, a moment of vulnerability, of being vulnerable with yourself, of not being afraid of seeing yourself for what you are, of not being afraid of seeing how you may have hurt somebody and being able to acknowledge your wrongs without necessarily expecting for anybody else to be there to point the finger at, because it's just you and the mirror. It's just you and your thoughts. It's just you, and it's just you. You cannot be a victim in that moment. You cannot be a finger pointer in that moment, even if you are really a victim. In that moment, there's a different thing that has to occur for you to actually climb out of that state of being, and that has to deal with taking accountability on how you're going to move forward. Because a lot of times when it comes to traumatic experiences where somebody is actually a victim, like narcissistic parenting, which I have a lot of experience with, or let's just say you're in an abusive relationship, or let's just say you're in a manipulative situation, or whatever it is that you're experiencing, right? A lot of the times when you are a victim in those situations, it is crippling you to be a victim. Being a victim is taking away from your strength. So although it may be the truth, if that person's not there and you're just going back to the drawing board every other day or every day, you're going back to your notes, you're going back to your meditative state, you're going back to the tape recorder. After a while, you're gonna be like, okay, I gotta do something about this. I'm not about to sit here and just talk about how this person did me wrong and that person did me wrong. You're gonna gain the strength and the courage to take yourself out of that state of being a victim. And that's gonna be the best thing that you can do. Because once you're able to do that and heal past that, then you will also be able to make sure that you're not attracting that energy into your life. Because when you're focusing on the victimization and you're focusing on how these people did you wrong, or pointing the finger at somebody else, even if it is their fault, when you're focusing on pointing the finger at them, you're focusing on the energy and the pain that they caused you. And so you are bringing that energy into your life. But if your focus is going to be on how you are progressing past that, on how you are releasing that, on how you will not let that happen again, on how you forgive yourself for that, on how you forgive them for that, then that's where you're going to heal. Because a lot of times when we're in that victimization moment, we're actually looking for that person to have, we're looking for some type of reconciliation. We're looking for someone to stand up and say, you're right, I treated you wrong and I'm sorry. And a lot of times that's not going to happen. A lot of times people are not going to say sorry. Not every situation is going to require a reconciliation. You can't go back to the past, to your ex that you dated 4 years. It might not be the safest thing to do. It's unnecessary. What has happened has already happened. In a lot of cases, that's not going to be what you want to do. So what do you do when you cannot reconcile? What do you do when you cannot get an answer or get what it is that you want from that narcissist? When you cannot get that love or that acknowledgement that you're seeking from within. What are you going to do? You have to move forward. You have to move forward, but you can only move forward if there's nobody else to blame. If you're taking all the characters out of the movie and you're looking at the main character, which is you. It takes a lot. Sometimes you need a mentor like me. You know, I do have my therapy sessions, my EFT therapy, which is very, very good for traumatic experiences, PTSD, everything. So definitely check that out. The link is in the description box below. But, you know, sometimes you can go to somebody, anybody who's experienced in these areas to help, you know, give you this therapy. But a lot of the times, it's also has to deal with you on an individual level. You have to be willing to accept moving forward, because nobody else is going to be able to force you to move forward. You've got to want to change because you want to change. You got to want to heal your own wounds because you want to look at it. You want to heal it. You want to face it. You want to feel it, and you want to release it. You want to cleanse yourself. You want to purify yourself. Take off all the energies that are not yours and look at yourself in your purest state. So guys, this is just another video, slightly like a rant, but I just know that a lot of people need to hear this. A lot of people will get inspired from this. A lot of people will get motivated from this. Remember to take your time. Remember to be patient with yourself. Take your time and be patient with yourself, for sure. Not everybody's going to heal in one day. Things is a process, right? But make sure that you're actively doing this. Trying to heal, trying to move forward, okay? So thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure that you like this video. If you want to donate to my channel, all the information is in the description box below. Subscribe to my channel as well. My website is inside the link in the description box below as well. And thank you guys so much for tuning in. I wish you the best of luck on your healing journey. Remember to stay peaceful, stay calm, and if you're triggered, that's okay. But just remember what it means to be you, to feel like you, and who you are at your purest state. All right, so have a good night, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.